Well, I think a lot of people were, what would be the word, as undecided as I was as a journalist, as a columnist, as an investigative reporter, until the 3 Mile Island accident. When the 3 Mile Island accident happened in 1979, that changed everything, because the kind of stuff we had been told turned out not to be true. For example, I did a TV program for WLIW, for Channel 21, on nuclear power. It was a half-hour documentary somewhere in the 70s, and I interviewed many scientists at Brookhaven National Laboratory, and they said that the likelihood of a catastrophic nuclear plant accident was essentially infinitesimal. These plants were built so well, and I mean, there was a whole big story, similar to what we're hearing again today as they push to, quote, revive, unquote, nuclear power. So it was just unclear to me. On the other hand, I heard from people, Irving Light, for example, who was very early on a opponent of the Shoreham nuclear plant, litigated the Shoreham case before the Atomic Energy Commission. And I knew Irving for many years. He was a mainstay of my reporting in the early 60s on the plans of Robert Moses to put a road on Fire Island. He opposed that with his brother-in-law Maurice Barbash. And Murray and Irving told me, hey, this is a terribly dangerous technology. But again, you got the Brookhaven lab scientists saying, no, no, this is fine. And it was sort of unclear to me as to whether this was as dangerous as I was being told by some people, or safe. I mean, I'm not technophobic. I love my laptop, and my Mazda Miata is right in that barn. I mean, I'm not a person who has a problem with good technology. But when 3 Mile Island happened, I mean, that was clear that it became clear that these plans can self-destruct in the biggest of ways and affect lots and lots of people. And at that point I sat down, this is 1979, and I began doing my first book on nuclear technology, which was called Cover Up What You're Not Supposed to Know About Nuclear Power, because I find then and now what the nuclear establishment has been trying to do is to suppress information about nuclear power.
And that campaign is continuing today?
Oh, it's unbelievable. For example, we're videotaping this in April of 2009, just a couple of days after the 30th anniversary of the 3 Mile Island accident. And here's this baloney that no one died as a result of 3 Mile Island. In fact, I did a TV documentary called 3 Mile Island Revisited. And I went to Goldsboro in Pennsylvania, and I checked out the situation. And no, there were lots of people died as a result of TMI. In fact, the owner of the nuclear plant has been quietly giving cash settlements to people who suffered damages. Indeed, in the film 3 Mile Island Revisited, I interviewed a woman who she was given $1 million. A child was born with Down syndrome. And it's, as I say in the video, it's a valley of death. And some recent studies have documented this rise in cancer. Dr. Stephen Wing has documented very, very steep increase in cancer miles around 3 Mile Island. Dr. Ernest Sternglass, Dr. Jay Gould had earlier done studies. So, I mean, this is just an example of the kind of baloney that no one died at 3 Mile Island. It's not true. These new nuclear power plants being inherently safe, not true. They're inherently dangerous, as is all. Part of the tragedy here is that the people who are supposed to protect us don't. That's why I talk about the nuclear establishment. I mean, some people jump up and down and talk about the nuclear industry. The nuclear industry is bad enough. the utilities involved in nuclear power, the giant corporations that build nuclear power plants, companies like General Electric, they're bad enough, but nuclear power is more than just industry. It has a lot to do, in fact, it begins with the government. It begins with the Manhattan Project during World War II, a crash program to build atomic bombs. And then at the end of the war, they indeed built atomic bombs, dropped 2 of them on Japan, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then as the mid-40s unfolded, they built more, and they built the hydrogen bomb ultimately, even bigger nuclear weapons. But the question asked among those in the Manhattan Project was, what else can we do with this technology to essentially perpetuate this undertaking at these national nuclear laboratories that was set up secretly during the war? Los Alamos, what's now known as Oak Ridge National Laboratory, Argonne National Laboratory, and then more national laboratories, nuclear laboratories were built here on Long Island. Brookhaven National Laboratory was central to the promotion of civilian nuclear technology. I mean, these people were not really pushing in my judgment, some sort of wonderful technology. They were pushing to perpetuate their jobs and their government funding and so forth. In terms of the Department of Energy, got to trace where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
The Manhattan Project became, in 1946, the Atomic Energy Commission. And it was supposed to regulate and promote nuclear technology. In the 70s, the Atomic Energy Commission was dismantled, abolished by Congress, because they determined that this promotion and regulatory roles were in conflict. So set up was a Nuclear Regulatory Commission to do regulation. It does it poorly. And finally, a Department of Energy to promote nuclear technology. So when the Department of Energy says that there was very little radiation emitted from the 3 Mile Island accident, the noses of those folks should grow like Pinocchio. As a former county executive of Suffolk County here on Long Island said about promoters of nuclear power, this is years ago, they lie like they breathe. I don't trust them at all, and we should not trust them. The Department of Energy, the boosters of nuclear technology. I mean, the folks from Brookhaven National Laboratory, who, as I say, in the mid-70s told me that the chance of a catastrophic accident was infinitesimal. I think they were mostly thinking about themselves. I mean, the Brookhaven Lab was set up in 1947 to research atomic energy, but also, and this is important, to develop civilian uses of nuclear technology. And that's where these people were talking from, their jobs, their contracts. And thus, when you talk about nuclear energy, it's not just the nuclear industry, it's the, Dr. Alvin Weinberg, who was a former director at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. I actually heard him with my own ears speaking at Brookhaven National Laboratory about nuclear technology, talking about we. Now he's addressing a group of Brookhaven Lab scientists, we the atomic priesthood. I'm going to have it on tape. This is pretty scary stuff when you have people thinking of themselves as part of some sort of priesthood, atomic priesthood. And furthermore, these are people in government who are supposed to be a check on industry. I mean, we've learned now, as a result of the economic meltdown, about what occurs because of a lack of regulation. As a result of a lack of regulation in the area of atomic technology, we face today nuclear meltdowns.